Hey friends, it is your creative weird makeup artist friend Cat Sketch to bring you another makeup transformation. Today we are going to turn into a celebrity, someone, as you can tell by the title of this video, who is very popular right now. But first, you should definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. We do videos every Monday and Friday here of beauty makeups, celebrity transformations, effects makeups, and body paintings while telling creepy stories. We celebrate Halloween year round here. I've been a professional makeup artist in the effects world for over 7 years. So subscribe to see some crazy cool videos. Of course, we're going to turn into Borat. I recently saw not only the newest Borat movie for the very first time, but the first Borat movie ever. I've never seen it, don't know why, and now I have, and I understand why people like Borat, especially the newest one. I feel like if I watched the older Borat movie when it came out, I would have liked it, but I guess the comedic jokes and satire in it is older, but this new one is so funny. So I definitely want to see if I could turn into Borat. While we're going to talk about creepy, terrifying stories of people who travel abroad. Let's do this. I definitely need a wig, and I'm gonna put prosthetics on in this video, so just a warning in case you try to recreate it, you can, but you could definitely do this without prosthetics. I'm gonna build a prosthetic fresh from some nose and scar wax and then have one pre-made, the chin of course, because my chin is not as long as Borat's at all. So hopefully we'll look like him. I don't know why celebrity makeups make me the most nervous. Probably because there's so many fans who are die-hard critiques and lover of the celebrity I'm turning into's work. So I really usually want to get it correct, or as close correct as I can. But the first horror story from a tourist abroad that I found was from a family who took a trip to Sudan to visit their dad's side of the family for the very first time. And the brother came back from the trip with a very severe, huge irritated rash on his back. I'm gonna put a prosthetic long chin on. The rash persisted for a few weeks and the doctors had no idea what it was. Terrifying. Then they were at the park one day and he started complaining to their mom that the rash hurt even more than ever. She ignored it, thinking he must have rubbed it onto something without realizing it to make it irritate more. Then the son started screaming in pain with hundreds and hundreds of flies flying out the base of his neck when he was rolling in pain on the floor. He was only 8 years old and some sort of African fly had laid eggs, larvae that made it to adult fly state or like a cocoon and flew out of his neck. I've seen enough of like horrific YouTube videos, medical shows to think that this was a bot fly that pupated into larvae that grew to an adult stage that flew out of his neck, which I've never even seen them grow to an adult stage to actually get out of a human's neck. I've only seen the larva being popped out, which is weird that the doctors didn't know because you would see the holes and they could squeeze to see the larva popping out, and you would just like constrict their airway and put tape there till they died in the skin and then you could pop them out. I'm not a medical doctor, but that's just my idea. But these eggs of this fly didn't hatch till the family was back in England from Sudan, so that is extremely scary. Y'all, this next story, this person was going to Amsterdam. They signed up for a 3-day trip at this place that had accommodations that were supposed to be great, safe, in the middle of the city. It was actually going to be on like a boat, like a boathouse type thing in the middle of the canals in the city, so it was close to practically everything that and everywhere they wanted to go to. But the only problem is it was the middle of winter and there's absolutely positively no heat on this boat. And the worst part is on the second day of this trip on this houseboat, the sewage system malfunctioned and it leaked everywhere in the boat to the point where the entire boat sank. And there was like no food nearby, like place to buy food. I'm guessing there was no actual grocery store, so they just had for the rest of their trip huddle under their blanket, almost like they're homeless, freezing cold, wishing they weren't there. Hungry and wishing they even had the energy to walk to the city towards where there are grocery stores and places where they could buy food and stuff. This sounds awful and probably one of the most worst vacation experiences I've ever heard of. One person has a story where they went to Thailand on vacation and they got so badly sunburned that whenever they started to smile, their face skin started actually bleeding on them. So in Turkey, I didn't know this, but when you visit there, some of the public restrooms have attendees working outside of them, and you have to give them some small amount of money to be able to use the restroom. So one day this person's dad had to use the restroom so bad that they just ran in there and gave the woman outside the restroom some money. But unfortunately, this woman was not a toilet attendant, and by the time he got out of the restroom, she started screaming at him that, "Oh my gosh, you thought I was a toilet attendant?" She found it very demeaning apparently. And this woman decided to start chasing him down the street, screaming at him in half-broken German and English, while she was trying to throw her handbag to beat him up to hurt him. This doesn't sound too horrifying, but according to this kid whose parents decided to go to the beach with them, his parents decided to wear matching outfits to the beach. Not only that, but matching t-shirts with the city name on it. And fanny packs. I think it's cute. That's just me. So this next person said this is the worst vacation that they've ever experienced in the city of Dara, just over the borders near Syria. After they went to Jordan, they spent the day traveling there. This was apparently, they said 20 years ago, that they stayed at this place that didn't look too sketchy at first. But they crashed in their bed, fell asleep, and woke up a few hours later just to be covered in bed bugs. That is literally my nightmares, bed bugs. I'm not a huge fan of bugs, but especially things that crawl on me while I'm asleep. Because that's like the only time we get to relax, you know, and really have time to ourselves. And I rarely get to relax. But he had been bitten all over so badly that he decided to sleep on the floor. In the morning, it gets worse. He decided to go to the loo, or the bathroom, and it was like the apocalypse, he said, in there. He said it was like a dirty prison in the loo, the bathroom, the restroom in there. There were giant, he says horse-sized cockroaches, but I live in Texas where we got some of the biggest roaches that are like the size of tiny mice out here that fly. I'm not picking my nose, I'm trying to get the wax in. I feel like I'm kind of turning into Waluigi, but in a human form. That's fine. Borat. So this next person went on a trip hiking through the Yukon, and let me tell you their first red flag, because they got a lift as a hitchhiker from a couple who was a boy and a girl off the highway, off a dirt road and into a dirt trail in the middle of nowhere. That was 10 minutes going into the middle of nowhere. And these weird couple people insisted that he get out of the car just so that they could show him their collection of hunting rifles. In the boot of the car, in America we call it the trunk of the car. It felt very sketchy for a while, but being in Canada, he felt fine. And it just turned out that they wanted to show him a great view over some mountains in the next town over, but it's like, that could have gone south so wrong. Maybe they changed their mind, or maybe they had bad intentions to begin with, because that just sounds so creepy and weird, but that's just me. So this next story is when this person was 10 years old. They were riding something called the Ducks. It's a type of vehicle that could also function as a boat. And this person, they love the water and sightseeing, so this was like perfect and awesome for them. They had just passed a dam, in almost 10 seconds while on the water after passing the dam, a speedboat appears, comes flying over the dam, and lands flat onto concrete down below. They were on a tour, so the tour guide on their duck boat vehicle thing quickly went back to where their station was, and they quickly saw EMTs carrying body bags from the site to the ambulance. They later found out on the news that the driver of the speedboat was a very drunk woman who lost control. So this next person's parents got mugged in Colombia. This person and their brother were about 50 yards ahead of their parents and heard their mother screaming in a horrific panic. How terrifying. And he sprinted back in time to his mother to see her purse being swung, hit, and connect the person who was mugging her. And the mugger went down really hard thanks to a $1,200 Nikon camera that was hidden in his mother's purse. Awesome. I guess it was heavy enough to really make contact. We just need a little bit of cream blush. Most of our lips are going to be covered up anyways with the mustache, but just coloring them in. So this next story, this person was a young horny guy in the Navy who had just made it to Nepal. But this guy and his buddy took a trip on a train to Roma and they headed towards strip clubs. And there was no one in there but 2 women, a bartender, and a few bouncers. So these people at the strip club started ushering them towards a booth and the women started flirting with them. And they're having a good time, and without even asking, one of the bartenders starts pouring them champagne. And I know where this is going, especially if they look like foreigners or travelers and tourists, because about 45 minutes in, you know, they only had 2 small glasses of the champagne and they were ready to leave. So they collect their tab and it had a $1,000 euro bill for champagne bottle services on it. And not only that, they were escorted to the outside ATM by the bouncers to make sure that they were going to pay. They know that they were stupid and didn't want any trouble, so they just paid and got out of there. This next person had a cousin who decided they wanted to buy Coke in Ibiza, but they found it off of someone off the streets, all the Coke that they bought, and it turned out to be laxatives, their Coke. So they spent 3 days on the community toilets trying to pass all this Coke. In Egypt, there was a tour bus heading to the Sinai, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, peninsula, S-I-N-A-I. But about halfway down the peninsula, they decided to stop at a rest area. I've always wanted to go to Egypt, and I've always been steer cleared, afraid of it. Just a little side note. This person was really in need to relieve themselves, so they ran to the restroom, and they were pulling down their pants, undoing their belt, about to squat down to use the restroom when a man crawled from under the toilet. They're convinced that the little man made an audible hissing noise, but that could have just been them and their mind in fear. And he ran out of there screaming in their native tongue, which meant giant spider. The owner sighed, grabbed a broom, and chased the little man out of there like it was a regular occurrence. The man that worked at the rest stop, that is. This next person saw a dead woman on a train platform in Varanasi, India. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but when she saw the dead woman's body, there was a sheer cloth over it, and it had been apparent that rigor mortis had already set in and how long she had been there. And the locals acted like it was perfectly normal. I'm gonna do a little black in these brows too to mix it up since I did mostly brown before moving on to the stash. Using some crepe wool. It's been so long since I've done facial hair, so hopefully this works. I have to be quiet while I do this. And when this person told the people that were working at the train station that there was a dead woman's body on the platform, they acted like they couldn't even care less. Wow, wee wow. So I just need a wig and my outfit and I will be done. And just like that, very nice. And with that, we have turned into Borat from the new movie while talking about really creepy stories that have happened to people while traveling abroad. And I do not mean to offend anybody from any of the cities and countries that I talked about within the creepy stories. They're just stories that I found online that I found very interesting. Different scenarios could happen to anybody in their hometown or abroad. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm so excited to do more videos even after Halloween in the future, bringing back Phantom Curiosities. If you guys forgot about that series, it's definitely coming back. I love you creators. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.